Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another episode of No Boundaries. Today joining me is none other than the gaffer, as he's called in Blighty. We have the coach, Ray Jennings. Ray, good to see you, my man.
Hello, Sid.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Enjoying yourself?
Fantastic, it's been unbelievable, yeah.
You're enjoying yourself. You've been with us since IPL Edition 2, which was of course was played in your native South Africa. So you didn't really get the full Bangalore experience then, but you've now, in your third season in Bangalore, how's it been for you?
I found the experience unbelievable. I think the most exciting experience for me has been mixing with the different cultures and getting really close to the Indian culture, which I've really enjoyed, making new friends. It was tough in the beginning, but just to get deep down into the understanding of the friendship and going out and seeing India and really making true friends in another country, it's really been an eye-opener for me.
Well, that's great to know, because I know you do enjoy India a lot, and you happened to be here during the World Cup when India won last year, and there's a video you shot of the Bangalore skyline, of all the fireworks and explosions going off in celebration of the win. I mean, when I saw it, it looked like the city was under attack.
Look, there's one thing that I like about India, and that's Bangalore. I mean, it's an unbelievable city. The people make me feel as if I'm really part of home. As far as the other parts of India, they play second fiddle in my heart. I've just found the Bangalore people very different and caring, and they know who I am, and they back me, and they really respect me and my skills. So to see Bangalore come to life during the World Cup was really exciting for me.
Well, that's great to know, and it's always nice to have the fans of the city or the team that you're coaching behind you. Now, getting into more of a personal question, is we know, or I know, that you have the nickname Jet. So Ray Jet Jennings. Would you like to enlighten us of how Jet came about?
Yeah, in my early playing days, Jet was the strongest man in the world. There was a TV program and a radio station, so they nicknamed me Jet, the fittest man in the world. I was a fitness fanatic, and I revolved my cricket around the fitness and the agility side of my cricket, and that's how the name stuck, Jet.
Because talking about your fitness, I know that you ran a lot and you do keep in great shape, and I know your wife as well, Allison, she's enjoys the gym and stuff like that. Your son both sons have played cricket. Have you always sort of tried to get your family to stay fit as well, or is it just something they naturally do?
Well, I think as a coach, one of the things I expect my players to be fit, and there's no reason why the coach can't stay fit as well, no matter what age you are, and to set the example, because how can you tell a player to get fit if you really overweight yourself? I met my wife in the gym. She was an aerobic instructor. And then just basically the two of us have trained together every morning, and my sons growing up have seen us train, and it's just become a culture in the home. So, healthy mind, healthy body is pretty important.
Completely. And we know that you are a very disciplined coach on the field. Are you as disciplined off the field with people as well?
Well, I tend to, at home, make a lot less decisions. I use a lot of my energy out of the household to make decisions and try work through those disciplines, because I believe as a coach, if you set disciplines up, you create the forum for players to actually grow. If there's lack of discipline and messing around, you find that there's not enough growth. So one of the things I try to do is push players in a disciplined environment to actually try and get them to grow to new levels.
Completely. And on the subject of discipline, I've also heard that you're quite miffed when a player shows up unshaven, unkept, in dirty kit, kit shirts untucked. Is that true? You like to, because I've always believed that, look good, feel good, and at the end of the day, whenever you put on a jersey, you're representing something. So one must take pride in the shirt they wear.
Well, one of the things, to make an impression through the television is pretty important, because the guy that sits in his home sees some particular player and, spitting, for example, unshaven, poor clothing, untidy. People, their eyes say, I don't really back that particular person, and you got sponsors involved, and you want people to like the product, and the product is somebody backing that particular person. He's got to behave correctly, he's got to have the right value systems as well as looking good, and because the brand that he carries, somebody's basically invested.
So, in that note, do you prefer it when the captain Daniel turns up with that beard of his or without?
Well, I try to find out what type of person he is, and Dan, unfortunately, I think he has to shave about 5 times a day. His beard tends to grow overnight, so I sense that he shaves once a week. So he grows a beard, and next thing he shaves it off. So if that is his pattern over 10 or 15 years, that's fine. But when it leads to a lack of discipline or laziness, that's when really I get involved.
Yeah, and talking about coaching and family as well, you've coached the South Africa under-19 side. Your son Keaton was a part of that. He was the captain, I believe, on the recent tour to England. How is it, well, I can ask you this, and maybe you could answer on behalf of Keaton as well, but when you're coaching a national team and you've got your son involved and he's the captain, obviously you've got to detach yourself emotionally from that fatherly son bond that you have and just see him as another member of the squad. But how is it for someone like Keaton when he knows his dad's the coach? Does that put more pressure on him to succeed?
Yeah, I think it plays 2 parts. It does put more pressure on him, but on the other hand, he gets recognised far quicker because who he is. But again, if he does get picked, people keep on saying, I'm his father.
Yeah.
But
so he's got to justify his selection.
Absolutely. The other thing is, I see every player I work with as one of my own kids. I take a lot of pride and care in people that I actually operate with, and I want people to realize that no matter if you're the top player or the worst player, I do have a soft spot and a caring involvement in your cricket career. And even Keaton at 6 years old, I took him to the nets. He really didn't listen to me, and from that day I actually said, I go to the nets, you call me coach. And to this day I have no father name or dad. My name is Coach. So it's been bred into him, cricket, his life, and my name's Coach.
You're a blunt character as well, and that's what I like about you as well, because you're like me, you don't beat about the bush, you're a blunt character, you say things to people, what you feel, and you're direct with them. Now, I have been informed by our very own A.B. de Villiers that you were the coach of, he was 19 years old, he'd just come into the South Africa A side, it was South Africa A against New Zealand A. It was a 4-day game. So AB came into bat and he batted like it was a 20-20 match. It was a 4-day game, but he tried to smash the ball around. And then he apparently dropped a fairly simple catch behind the stumps. And the next morning, in what he thought was a routine team meeting before going out to play, you laid into him and basically told him that, you're no good, you're a young kid, effing and blinding, you turn up here, you think you know everything, what are you doing? You will A, never play in a team coached by me again, and B, you will never play for your country. And well, here he is today, captain of the national side and playing for your team in Royal Challengers. So you've got a bit of an unorthodox way about coaching, but I guess it seems to have brought the best out in him.
Look, one of the things at 18, 19, 20, a lot of the players actually think they're good enough to go and play for the national side. And what I try to do is give them a bit of a shock treatment, make them walk away and realize that they're not as good as they really are. When I looked at AB, I always realized he's going to be one of the best in the world. On that particular tour, I took him to the gym for the first time at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that was the first gym session he had.
He's as fit as they come today.
Absolutely, but again, he played 2 test bowlers against New Zealand, and he just played them as if it was a Sunday afternoon match, and he scored the run so easily. But he was so happy with his 30 and 40, which showed me that he was comfortable walking off and saying to himself, he's done well. And for me to not recognize that makes him walk away saying, I need to go to the next step. If that sat in his mind after 15 years, it's obviously something that I'm doing right.
Well, absolutely, yeah. He's at the top of the game today. Now, coming on to another character, Malcolm Norfolk, another young 19-year-old who plays in the same under-19 team as your son, who happened to be our baggage handler in the Champions League in South Africa a couple of years ago. Malcolm has reliably informed us that he deleted you from his BlackBerry Messenger, and the next day he promptly found himself dropped from the under-19 side. Is that true, or is he exaggerated?
Well, what I do with my national under-19 guys, the technology in the lower levels, I mean, they communicate all the time. So all of them connect to me with BBM, and I look at their status, and their status give me a bit of an indication where they are mentally and physically and technically. And he deleted me after a very heavy team talk, which he showed me he was very angry in what I'd said to him, which showed me the lack of maturity. In the next team meeting, I challenged him. He was very embarrassed, but tied into that, he was dropped anyway. But he actually linked up the two to that particular BBM been deleted. So it wasn't an actual story, but being who I am, a lot of people try to tie up those type of things. Like in South Africa, I was in a team talk and sandwiches walked in, and I told the person to take the sandwiches out, I'm busy. It hit the newspapers that I refused the players to have sandwiches. So people see my discipline as unique, and they tend to jump in the bandwagon on issues that really must probably escalate.
Well, we know you're very tech savvy, obviously, with the BBM and everything, and also the team, the motivational videos you put together for the team before matches. Funnily enough, you included Steve Jobs in one of the team talks. I think it was the game before the Redbacks in the Champions League, and something, I won't say what now, but something during that team talk and something during that video has stuck with me today, and it's had a big impact in my life. So you don't just have an impact with the players, it's had a big impact on me, and we won that game off that last ball 6 as well. So there was something very special about that, which later on in life I'll look back at that occasion as a turning point for me personally. But anyway, this isn't about me, this is about you. I would now like to invite your, what shall I say, better half onto the show, or other half?
My only half.
Your only half onto the show. Allison, please come and join us, if you will. Ladies and gentlemen, Allison Jennings, Ray's lovely wife. How are you?
Very well, thanks. I'm impressed with your interviewing skills. Feeling slightly inadequate here.
No, not at all. This is all off the cuff. I'm, talking to Ray over here. I don't know what could happen, so I've got to be on best behaviour. If you had to describe your husband in one line, what would it be?
It's going to sound really corny. Magnificent.
Magnificent. Well, see, you couldn't ask for anything better. High five. Not bad. And, we see on the field, he's obviously used to being the boss, being the coach of any people, but back at home, who's the boss, you or him?
He's the head of the house. I'm the neck that turns it.
Aha. Great answer. Great answer. You seem to be a natural at this as well. And, tell us how you met Ray. What was that one quality in him that really impressed you? I assume it wasn't the moustache.
It was the good looks, and I taught an aerobics class to the Transvaal Mean Machine, and there were 2 guys who could keep up with the class, that really could do what I was doing. One was Ray, one was Clive Rice, and we just kind of clicked then, and we've been together since.
So you met in the gym. That maybe explains why so many of our players like Mithun like to spend so much time in the gym, because I think he's hoping he finds the same happiness you did.
Well, I think Mithun must probably found his lover in the weights. He just stands in front of the weights. I was running around the gym trying to find a blonde.
And what's the most romantic thing Ray has ever done for you?
It was 1 year for my birthday. He organised his brother and sister-in-law to come and fetch me, and they blindfolded me, and we drove to Zoo Lake, which is, really kind of a pond in Johannesburg. And he'd set up a table with candles and chairs, and he'd gone to Steers and bought some. It's like a takeaway joint. He'd bought some chicken and salad and some biltong sticks and tomatoes and chocolates, and we had a dinner for my birthday.
Superb. Oh, Ray, well, this is a side of you
Nobody knows.
that no one gets to know. Well, you know now anyway. And you said such nice things about Ray all along. I'm going to have to ask you if there is something you can pick out, but there's got to be something about Ray that annoys you.
You're really putting me on the spot here. I don't think so. I think marriage is a thing where those annoying things, you look over them, because that's the whole point of it. You have, in any relationship, you have 80% good with a person, and you're never going to have 100%. You're going to have 20% maybe that isn't quite right. But as long as your 80% is great, you can live with the 20%. So if you ask me what's wrong, I can't tell you, and I don't ever want to focus on that.
Loving wife's answer.
Now you know why I've married my best friend, and my best friend happens to be my wife, and I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. We spend all our time together, and we enjoy each other's company, and this is my pot of gold, and I'll live till the last minute with her in my arms. Brilliant.
I need a box of tissues here, please. Can't control myself anymore.
It's the honest truth.
I'm sure one day I'll be able to relate with that, maybe in about 30 years' time, when I finally find my someone. But until then, I mean, that's brilliant. Allison, thank you so much for joining us on this.
It's been great fun.
Thank you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our first segment. Of course, next is the rapid fire round. So join me back in just a tick and we will put Mr. Jennings on the spot once again. Right, we're back for the second part of the show, the rapid fire round. Ray, I'm going to ask you a string of questions. I just want the first answer that pops into your head. Okay?
Okay.
On the money, ready?
Yep.
Here we go. First question. Who's the messiest player in the RCB changing room?
Virat Kohli.
Is he really?
Yes.
Has his stuff spoiling everywhere, does he?
He's got about 12 bats, so that's part of it.
And messiest player looks-wise, Dan with his beard.
Dan with his beard.
And Tiwari, short hair or long hair?
He's had both, but I prefer the short hair.
You prefer the short hair. I tell you, when he arrived with that short hair last year, I didn't recognise him.
Makes him look younger and thinner.
Makes him look thinner. Okay, yeah. Mountains or beaches?
Beaches.
Rock or pop?
Rock.
Watching football or rugby?
Football.
Football, really? Over rugby?
Football.
It's the first South African I've actually heard say that. Oh, there's always a first. Alan Donald or Sean Pollock?
Sean Pollock.
Why?
Values, ethics, mannerisms, value as a player on and off the field. Gentleman.
Great
true
guy.
leader, great guy.
Ray Jennings the coach or Ray Jennings the dad?
The dad.
The dad. But we've heard that they both go hand in hand anyway. Who's more dominating, you or Allison?
Me out of the home, Allison at home.
Okay. Who always wins the arguments, you or Allison?
Myself.
Okay, we should ask her that afterwards as well. The one person you're afraid to piss off?
VJ.
VJM.
Yeah, VJ.
Really? But of course you always want to win, so...
Absolutely, and I think, knowing he's a business guy, knowing that there are big demands and knowing that he's invested so much, and it is an image of a human being that wants to get a return, so I wouldn't want to piss him off.
And the one person you would love to piss off?
Probably anybody from Mumbai or Super Kings. I really like to piss them off badly.
Well, that's it for the rapid fire round. Thank you for that, Ray. Next is the challenge round. And we have a very special challenge round today, which maybe doesn't so much focus on Ray in the challenge as myself. Join us after this to see what Ray does to me in this challenge. Well, here we are, challenge time. However, in this particular challenge, it's not so much going to be Ray Jennings doing the challenge himself, but he's going to put me through the challenge, hence why I'm all kitted out. Ray, explain to me what you've got in store for me today.
Well, obviously I'm going to teach you a few keeping drills and make sure you actually do the things correctly, and hopefully you can learn something from that.
Superb. Well, I look forward to it, so let me go and get kitted out and we'll see you back in a second. Right, well, we're all ready to go. I'm kitted out. I used to be a bit of a keeper myself, so...
Well, I'll tell you at the end of this practice session. Can you guys stand over there? Let me get going.
Here we go then. Right, make sure I don't hit the wall. Do you want to go back a bit, or are we good to go?
Okay, we're going to just start catching balls. Throw it back to me. And I want you to start catching only one hand. Only one hand. Use one hand only. And left. And right. Don't snatch it. Keep your balance. Keep your balance. Okay, the next exercise over now, I'm going to use two balls to see your eye-hand coordination, and we're going to throw them together. Slowly use both hands. Very good. Very good. Again, watch the balls carefully. Very good. You definitely got some hidden talent there, Sid. As you can see, Sid, you're a little bit tired, but I'm going to start stretching a little bit. I'm going to start stretching a little bit and see how agile you actually are behind the wickets.
I'm like a cat. Let's go. Let's see, I haven't done this for a while.
That's a good catch. That's very good. That's a superb catch. What's the ball? Very good. Catching it, but it's knocking out. Better. Keep your elbows to the floor. That's a superb catch. That's a superb. That's really good. Well done.
Well, that was...
I'm sure Sid has felt the heat of the Royal Challengers top side. So, Sid, well done. You definitely got
Thank
some
you, Ray.
skill. But you need to watch the ball with a lot more control of your balance. But other than that, it's good. There's a starting point. Possibly next year we can look to sign you up.
Maybe. Maybe I can hit a 6 like Arun Karthik did as well. Well, that's it from this segment, everyone. See you back in for the fan question round. Well, I'm a little tired here. Trying not to sweat after that challenge. Ray, thank you. You really did put me through my paces there.
Pleasure, Sid.
And I just think this has really shown to me in the 5 or so minutes that we trained for what it takes to be an international cricketer and the standards of fitness that are now required. Finally coming on to probably the most important part of the show are the questions that have been sent in by our many well-wishers and fans across the globe. A chap from Perth, all the way from Perth, has sent in our first question. Jim from Perth asks, who is the most difficult to coach in the RCB team?
I think the biggest problem is the communication. If the communication is not there, it becomes very difficult to coach a player. So Tavari would be, from my point of view.
Saurabh
Tavari, very talented guy. We put in a lot of time and energy. So it's quite difficult to communicate with him and to understand what personality he's got.
And next, have you ever made a player cry? That's coming from Anand from Chennai.
No, I don't think so. I think frustration. I've seen some players, Kohli, the last game, for example, put a towel on his head. I could feel there's something happening behind the towel. But me personally, no. I care too much about the players, and I want them to achieve their dreams. So I wouldn't push them past that.
And Sneha from Pune asks, what do you plan on doing after you retire from coaching? Or is that a thought that really isn't in your mind right now?
I'll always be involved in coaching somehow, be it the consultancy or end up as a fielding coach or whatever. I enjoy the relationship, I enjoy the challenge, and it actually keeps me young. It forces me to train. Before IPL, I do 6 to 8 weeks of hard training to make sure I come here nice and strong and mentally strong. So I'll always be involved in coaching.
And Rita from Trinidad, from the land of the Gales, has asked you, what's your favourite thing about RCB? If you can name just one.
I think the most important thing to me is the respect factor and the team that we've actually got, and the bond between the owners and the bond between the players. The first year it was very difficult just to mix with such fantastic human beings and walk onto the field feeling and caring about your fellow player is really a very special thing in a team that all coaches actually strive towards.
And finally, the final question comes from your native South Africa, from lovely Kimberly, who asks, have you ever been wrong about a player? Someone who maybe you thought had great potential but never reached it, or someone you thought maybe didn't have the potential but through hard work got to the top of their game?
I think a coach's biggest fear is exactly that, where you actually mentally write off a player and he actually turns around and shows you can play. But that's, to me, a challenge of a player when he feels that a coach has written him off. He comes back and really hits you in the nose. And I think a coach does that often, but you've got to have an open attitude, open mind to make sure that doesn't happen and keep the door closed on that particular player.
And I'm sure you're a big believer in, but yes, of course, one must have natural talent, but it's the work that one puts in which is even more important than the talent one has. Mutai Muralidharan was telling me yesterday that today he believes that Kumar Sangakkara is the best batsman in the world in both formats of the game, but Sanga wasn't someone who was necessarily born with the greatest amount of talent, but his work ethic and the amount of practice he puts in has taken him to number one. I've
always said talent is overrated. You need a human being, you need a character to use what you've got in life. Even intelligence, if you don't have a good attitude to use that in intelligence, you're never going to grow and become successful. A lot of guys have got a lot of talent, but they don't use that talent. They don't know when to hit the ball. They don't know how to handle pressure. So the most important thing is to get a human being that commits passion, desire, energy. And if you put some talent in there, you can always teach the guy about how to play a ball and put him through these paces. But how do you teach a person about passion and honesty and respect and loyalty and those type of skills? Yeah, well, I completely agree with you there. And that about wraps it up, Ray. So
I'd like to thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure here, and it's been really nice for me to get to know you in this way as well. You know, we've worked closely together for the last 3 years, but I've never really got this side of you, and especially to hear it from your wife as well was lovely. Thank you for joining me. If you have a message to the fans of Bangalore you'd like to give before we leave, that would be great.
Yeah, just from my side, been in Bangalore for 4 years. I just want to thank everybody that's met me out on the streets and really shown me the love and the care. And all I can say, my blood's red, and long live the RCB and the loyal Bangalore people that come to support us. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Long live the loyal RCB. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yet again, you've been a wonderful audience, as always, for tuning into this episode of No Boundaries. Remember to follow me at Sid Mallya on Twitter for the latest news on who will be my next guest on this show. And remember to keep checking out rawchallengers.com for all the latest news and reviews of your favorite RCB players. Until next time, take care.